coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Woo! Got an early morning edition. Haven't done one of these in a long time. I think I've only done it once, actually, because I'm not a very big morning person. I'll be quite honest with y'all. Never have been a morning person. What about y'all? I'm more of a night owl. Yeah, I like staying up all night. How's that old song go by Slaughter? Old rock song, heavy metal, hard rock song by Slaughter back in the day. Up all night, sleep all day. I'm still doing it to this day. I just want to jump in here real quick and talk to y'all about some college football drama that's going on. As you know, Alabama is in the 11th spot. There's a big debate over whether or not Alabama should be in the playoffs because they got more losses than every team in the playoffs. But all things are not exactly equal when it comes to the schedules teams play and whatnot. Now, like I said before, I've told plenty of people plenty of times, I was content with Alabama not making the playoff. They dropped us out of the top 12. We're also going to talk about Georgia and Texas should sit their players this week. I would. I mean, what's it going to matter? Who wins the SEC championship games? Because these guys might play each other a third time. These guys might actually play each other a third time. Now, let's think about this. If Georgia were to beat Texas again and then have to play them a third time and Texas beats them that third time, Georgia might have the SEC title, but they don't have the big prize. They don't have the national championship, and yet they won 2 out of 3. Pretty messed up. But that's the way things happen sometimes, right? We already got a few people up in here already. Y'all just drop your name in the comment section and let me know who's here so I can holler at you and we can converse here about college football and the college football playoff drama that's going on. I've also got the bowl projections for this week from Athens. As you know, I'm a big believer in Athens. I am from the School of Athens of college football. So, yeah, just drop a comment in here and let me know y'all in here and let me know who's in here so I can holler at you real quick. Let's go ahead and bring y'all up some bowl projections real quick. And then we'll get into the topics that I just discussed. The Alabama is better than SMU regardless, and Georgia and Texas should sit their players. First, I want to see these bowl projections. Let's get them up here. Already got a stupid commercial up. See if y'all can see that. All right. Here we go. And all these stupid names, man. Why can't they just say the Veterans Bowl brought to you by IS4S Salute instead of the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl? Well, I don't think that's that might not be one. That might not be a actual sponsor. My bad. I didn't call that one right. But anyway, that one's in Montgomery, Alabama. It's got Western Michigan and South Alabama. The Frisco Bowl on December 17th. Now, this bowl bid has been officially accepted on this one. Now, the other ones are not official. These are just projections after the Frisco Bowl. The Frisco Bowl, I think, is actually both of these teams have accepted invites to the Frisco Bowl in Frisco, Texas, at Toyota Stadium. It's going to be West Virginia versus Memphis. My boy Kuz might like that. The Boca Raton Bowl sounds like a great place to go in December, don't it? At FAU Stadium, it has Miami of Ohio versus James Madison. The Los Angeles Bowl is being projected as UNLV versus California. The New Orleans Bowl on December 19th has Western Kentucky and Louisiana. The Cure Bowl has Georgia Southern and Jacksonville State. Now we're starting to get into some bigger names. The Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa, Florida. Really good trip for Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is not your daddy's Vanderbilt anymore. They've got Virginia Tech versus Vanderbilt in a rematch. I don't know if these guys realize or not that Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech actually played earlier this year. I think the first or second game of the week. So Virginia Tech might be looking for a little revenge in that game. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, by the way, just like I said, these are all projections. These are not cement picks yet because we don't know where Alabama's going to go. And if Alabama doesn't get in and they put SMU in over Alabama, then Alabama will probably filter down to the Citrus Bowl, and then it's going to push everybody back in the SEC. The Myrtle Beach Bowl. Sound like another good vacation. Yeah, boy, I'd love to go to some of these little bowls. Coastal Carolina versus East Carolina, the Battle of the Carolinas. Blah. Famous Idaho Potato Bowl. It has Colorado State versus Ohio. The Hawaii Bowl, San Jose State versus South Florida. It's a great reward for those two mid-card teams. Marshall versus Toledo in the Game Above Sports Bowl. This is what I'm talking about right here. This used to be called the Cherry Bowl back in the day. It's in Detroit, Michigan, and it used to be called the Cherry Bowl back in the day. Now it's called the Game Above Sports. Next year it'll probably be called the Bosch and Lom Douche Bowl. They ain't no telling what they're going to call them from year to year. I think it's stupid. I think they need to keep the names. Like what they could have done right here is like Cherry Bowl presented by Game Above Sports. The Rate Bowl, another one. Guaranteed Rate Bowl in Phoenix, Arizona, featuring TCU versus Rutgers, according to them. They're also projecting 68 Ventures Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. Used to be called the Mobile, Alabama Bowl. But now it's called 68 Ventures. Used to be called the Dollar General Bowl. Bowling Green versus Arkansas State. That sounds pretty blah. The Birmingham Bowl here in Alabama. At Protective Stadium in Birmingham. That's the new football stadium for UAB. So you ain't got to worry about going to the old downtrodden Legion Field anymore. That was they need to tear that thing down. It's an eyesore. NC State versus Arkansas. That's a pretty good matchup. I actually might go to that. I live in Tuscaloosa, so that's not but an hour from me. The Armed Forces Bowl is projecting Texas Tech versus Navy. And then the Liberty Bowl is projecting Oklahoma versus Kansas State. So two old Big 12 rivals getting back together. Only been a year one. That ain't been apart 1 year, and they're reuniting. Oklahoma versus Kansas State in the Liberty Bowl is what they're projecting. Might be something I might think about going to. It's not too damn cold. Holiday Bowl, Washington State versus Clemson. The Las Vegas Bowl, Texas A&M versus USC. Now, if Alabama were to lose, you might get a pretty interesting matchup here. It might push Oklahoma into the Las Vegas Bowl. You have Oklahoma versus USC, and all that angst and drama between them and Lincoln Riley would come to a full head in Las Vegas if Alabama were to get pushed down. The Fenway Bowl, Pittsburgh versus UConn. Let me jump right back in here first and see if we got anything in here. All right, we got Freedom Half Off. It's in the house. Roll Tide. Tobin Bradshaw, what's up, Outlaw? What's up, Tobin? One of our bigger donors to the show. Oh, my banner's not up. There it is. There we go. All right. Bryce Wayne, my bad. Bryce Wayne says, boo. Scared me. Damn. OU versus the Skittle Shitters is what we want. Yeah, it may happen in the Las Vegas Bowl if they finagle it around. If they look at it, Texas A&M versus USC, while that's a great matchup, it must be much better storyline for Oklahoma and USC, would it not? We don't want to play Kansas State in the Disposable Bowl. Disposable Bowl? What you talking about, man? Liberty Bowl ain't bad. I like the Liberty Bowl, man. I like Memphis. I like Beale Street. Don't venture too far from Beale Street, though, because I ain't going to lie to you. Memphis is pretty shady. All right. Now that I got the rundown of the people that's up in here, anybody else want to comment in here, throw your comment in there, and I'll try to get to it as soon as I can. And if you want your comment read out quicker and put up above everybody else's, there is a little money dollar sign at the bottom. Click on that, write your comment out, then hit send. Don't hit send the second time or you won't get your comment on there. It'll just be blank. And I'll read your comment out for, just make a little small donation to the show. Help us keep the lights on. All right. Back to the bowls here. Fenway Bowl, Pitt versus UConn. Who cares? Pinstripe Bowl, Nebraska versus Duke. That's a weird matchup. New Mexico Bowl, Sam Houston versus UTSA. The Pop-Tart Bowl, see, that's another one. That's in Orlando. Camping World Stadium in Orlando. This, I think this used to just be called the Camping World Bowl or something, because I know they got the Citrus Bowl in Orlando too. They got 2 bowls in Orlando. This used to be called something else. Back in the day, it might have been the Tangerine Bowl, I think. The Arizona Bowl, by the way, this one also has a sponsor name on it, but it's Snoop Dogg. But it's not on here, thank goodness. Northern Illinois versus Fresno State. Nobody cares. Military Bowl, Boston College versus Army. That's somewhat interesting. Colorado versus BYU. They're both in the same conference, but they didn't play each other this year. So you could actually have this matchup. The Independence Bowl features Texas State versus Tulane. Wow. Texas State moving up in the world. Music City Bowl, Missouri versus Iowa. The ReliQuest Bowl in Raymond James Stadium that used to be called the Outback Bowl. Why can't you say the Outback Bowl presented by ReliQuest? Damn, that's stupid. Michigan versus Ole Miss. That's a nice little matchup there. Name-wise. Ole Miss, you just don't know what you can get with Ole Miss. Ole Miss could blow these guys out by 40, or they could struggle and lose by 4, the way Ole Miss is. Which is just like Alabama, by the way. Ole Miss and Alabama sort of like mirror images of each other. The Sun Bowl has Georgia Tech versus Washington. Let me reiterate this. Everything outside the Frisco Bowl is not cement. These are just projections. Citrus Bowl, Illinois versus South Carolina. Now, if Alabama doesn't get in, if SMU loses to Clemson and they move Alabama out to allow SMU and Clemson to be in, then Alabama would fall right here. They would probably go and play Illinois in the Citrus Bowl. Right now, as it is, they got projected Illinois versus South Carolina. Texas Bowl is LSU and Baylor. Gator Bowl, Syracuse versus Florida. What? They just had Florida and Michigan. What the hell? They think Florida's going to play in 2 bowls? Really? How stupid. North Carolina versus North Texas in the First Responders Bowl. Duke's Mayo Bowl, Minnesota versus Louisville. The Bahamas Bowl, Liberty versus Buffalo. That's a hell of a nice trip for 2 mid-card teams, man. Man, I need to become a fan of Liberty, right? And the college football playoff here, as you can see, they got Penn State versus Arizona State, Notre Dame versus Alabama, Georgia versus Indiana, and Ohio State versus Tennessee. The teams in the front are the teams that would get the home game. You'd have Alabama going to Notre Dame in the middle of December, as well as Tennessee going to Columbus in the middle of December. So we can finally find out if all this stuff that they've been talking, all this smack that they've been talking up north, oh, if we got y'all up here to play in the snow, we got y'all up here to play in the cold weather, we'd spank your ass. I don't know. Better hope that y'all do, because now you're going to get your wish. Never thought you would, did you? Well, now you're getting your wish. It's like the old saying, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. But I got a little something for y'all that y'all might need to listen to here. Not to burst your bubble, but I don't think Frosty the Snowman and all the snowballs in the world is going to help you win a football game against one of these Southern teams if they're that much better than you. I suspect, at least, I think, if Northern Illinois can go to Notre Dame and win, I think Alabama could. Just saying. Just my opinion. Tobin Bradshaw says, I guess I'll just be happy with any bowl. It ain't our first time being in a low bowl. Lucky to have another game this season. Yes, it is a great thing that y'all do have another game, which was gift wrapped by my team over here, Alabama. Didn't show up. I knew we was a little dinged up after the LSU game and probably a little emotionally drained and just didn't think we needed to show up, which was stupid. But, yeah, we basically gift wrapped y'all a bowl game for Christmas. So, Merry Christmas to the Oklahoma Sooners from the Alabama Crimson Tide. But it's more practice time, too. And it's always good optics for your program to be in a bowl for recruiting And like I said, you get extra practice time as well. So, and Liberty Bowl is not a bad trip. Not really. If you like Beale Street. The Oklahoma Man 94 is in the house. Oklahoma Man 94 says Kansas State opponent for OU this year. They haven't played in 2 seasons technically now. Wow. Well, I thought y'all played them last year. I didn't know. Y'all didn't play them in the regular season last year? I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. Y'all played Kansas, right? And Kansas beat y'all. Oklahoma and Kansas sort of like Alabama and Vanderbilt. You don't see Kansas and Vanderbilt beating Alabama and Oklahoma very often. So when it happens, you better behold that sight because it's almost as frequent as Haley's Comet. Bryce Wayne says, you hear that doof quarterback down in Miami said about the ACC having better defense than the SEC? What a dipshit. That's what's not getting them in. That's what, I don't know why he's saying that. That's exactly why Miami's not going to be in the playoffs. Now, SMU might boot Alabama out if Clemson upsets them. But I don't know, man. I don't think that. Now let's go ahead and get to that topic now. Alabama is better choice overall than SMU regardless. I'm not saying that because they're my team. As a matter of fact, like I said, I was content. And for people to say there's an Alabama bias out there, I don't think so. You see, if there was a bias, they would have never dropped Alabama out of the top 12. The problem is the teams in front of Alabama didn't take care of business. So if you're going to lose and crap the bed against Syracuse, Miami, and look horrid against a lot of teams this year defensively and get a win basically given to you that you shouldn't have got from Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech caught that Hail Mary in the end zone, and it was overturned with insufficient evidence because referees this year have sucked across the board in every game against every team. Already went over that ad nauseum. They need some kind of program for referees, make them full-time, make it a job that they're really invested in, not part-timers, not part-time lawyers doing refereeing or part-time whatever's doing the refereeing, that kind of deal. Finally, Fred Bagley has come back to the posse. I ain't seen Fred here in a while. Last couple of times I've done some live streams, he was no-show. So glad to have you back, Fred. Just playing with you, man. Just playing. Sometimes you just can't make it. I understand. But and there's narrative going around that the only way Alabama's not going to make it is if Clemson wins. Okay. If Clemson beats SMU, Clemson's a 9-3 team, right? And they've looked pretty horrible all year to me. They've beaten a bunch of teams that aren't really good because they're not really good. And the 3 teams they played that were decent, they got beat pretty handedly in 2 of those. Georgia blew them out 34-3, and Louisville went into Clemson and blew them out too. And then they lost a late lead to their in-state rival, South Carolina. So all they had to do was take care of business, and they wouldn't have got dropped behind Alabama. Miami, same thing. Yeah, I know Miami's got 2 losses and Alabama's got 3. But all things are not equal when it comes to wins and losses when you compare the ACC to the SEC, especially with Alabama. Alabama's 3-1 in top 25 games, has 3 top 25 wins. Miami has 0. And I think SMU's in the same boat. I think SMU has 0. SMU's resume and Miami's is eerily similar. So if they're going to drop Miami out for the same resume and the same issues, then why wouldn't they drop SMU behind Alabama? If they lose to a 9-3 Clemson team, does SMU really deserve to be in at that point? I mean, they're playing against a weaker schedule, a weaker conference. So if there was a 2-game difference in wins and losses, I could understand where y'all were coming from. But it's not just Bama hate, I think. I think there's a little Bama fear there. And I'm not saying it trying to troll y'all. I'm not saying it because I'm an Alabama fan. I'm saying it because it's pretty obvious who the better team is to me. Alabama, to me, if you put Alabama and SMU on a neutral field together, or you put Alabama and Clemson on a neutral field together, or Alabama and Miami on a neutral field together, who do you think Vegas would favor? Probably Alabama by about 10 points in every single one of them. Now, if you're going on the road and you're having to play at Miami or at SMU, maybe there'll be a little bit more of a difference. Maybe it wouldn't be but a 7-point favorite for Alabama. Regardless, Alabama would be deemed as the better team, in my opinion. Just keeping it real here, because I was of the mindset of, hey, I don't know if Alabama deserves to be in. We're not playing at our best right now. We don't look as good as some teams right now, like South Carolina, for example, who's went on a little 6-game winning streak. But then this guy said something on a show that sort of struck home for me. And he said, yes, South Carolina got hot late. But what did they do the first 6 games? And people go, well, we're going on recency. Well, recency means this season, not half the season. And they're always preaching the full body of work. So the full body of work is not your last 6 games, South Carolina fan. It's all games. And the first half of the season, you were 3-3. And you almost lost to Old Dominion. Old Dominion was within striking distance of beating South Carolina late in the 4th quarter. People forget about that. Just saying. And plus, the big tiebreaker that everybody uses, and it have been since the dawn of college, the dawn of football period, is head-to-head. Alabama beat them head-to-head. And people are like, well, Alabama got lucky because South Carolina was within 2 points. Yeah, watch that game and tell me that Alabama wasn't a better team. They were the better team. Alabama just kept them in the game. South Carolina's lucky they were in that game. Alabama went up on them 14-0. So head-to-head, man, they got them beat. And Ole Miss beat them even worse in Columbia, 27-3. So how are you going to jump South Carolina over Alabama and Ole Miss? If anybody's got a complaint, it should be Ole Miss, not South Carolina. Fred Bagley says, and make them take their turn at the post-game presser. That's right. I assume you're talking about the referees. Yeah. If 18 and 19-year-old, in some cases 17-year-old Ryan Williams, Alabama, 18, 19-year-old young men can get up on the stage at their immature level, can get up at the press conference and have to answer questions and get badgered for the mistakes or how they performed in the game, as Fred Bagley said, why shouldn't these referees, who are sometimes 40, 50-year-old men, why shouldn't they have to answer for their performance? The coaches have to answer for their performance, and the players have to answer for their performance. The only element or piece of the game or human beings involved in the game that don't have to answer for anything are the officiating crew. And they absolutely impact the game. I'll give you an example. Alabama scored a touchdown in the 4th quarter to make it 24-10 against Oklahoma. Now, while Alabama may not have come back and won that game, it absolutely impacted that game. It would have probably been a big momentum shift for Alabama, and they probably would have made it closer. We would have probably at least ended up making it 24-17. But would we have come back and won? I can't really say that. But I know it impacted the game because it impacted the score. So it absolutely impacted the game. For people to say it didn't, they're just making excuses because they want to hate on Alabama or they fear Alabama, whatever their emasculated problem is with Alabama. That's what's going on with that, because it absolutely impacted the game. These officials are impacting the game. They did it to South Carolina versus LSU. 2 phantom calls. South Carolina would be in the playoff today had the referees not impacted that game. Back to the Alabama thing, yeah, it impacted the game because the score would have been 24-10 at least. So technically, you impacted the game. You impacted the final score of the game. Would have been at least 24-10. But yeah, South Carolina probably should be in the playoff, if not for the officiating crew in the LSU South Carolina game, because they really, really screwed South Carolina. Really, really did. Bryce Wayne said it'd be Alabama by 10 over all of them if the Las Vegas sports lines had to do a line for Alabama versus SMU, Miami, or Clemson. With Clemson, I think it might be more. I think it might be about 14 or 15 points, maybe even 17. Terry Sleuth says cold weather doesn't matter. Well, a lot of people are saying it does. And I'm like, they say, well, the balls are harder, and blah, 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 blah. It's harder to catch them. Well, let me ask you this, man. We've had some great quarterbacks in the NFL that played in really harsh conditions. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, who else? Played in cold weather. Ben Roethlisberger, Terry Bradshaw back in the day with the Steelers. Tom Brady from New England. Jim Kelly back in the 4 Super Bowl in a row era with the Buffalo Bills. Have you ever played in Buffalo? And Jim Kelly was one of the most prolific passers of all time. So come on, man. Don't give me that Frosty the Snowman's going to show up magically, help y'all win with a few fastball snowballs, or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is going to come down and burn our ass with his red nose. Because I don't see it happening, man. I think y'all putting a little too much into this whole cold weather stuff, because it gets cold down here. Right now in Alabama, this morning, it was about 28 degrees, 30 degrees. It's pretty damn cold this morning. And when wind starts blowing, wind chill factor is probably about 10 degrees. So we get cold weather down here in December, just like y'all do. Just like y'all do. Now, you might be able to say that about Miami, because I'm sure Notre Dame would much rather see Miami in South Bend than Alabama. They might not admit to it, but we all know it's true. We all know it's true. If you put your Bama hate or your Bama fear aside, you know it's true. Courtney says USC has 2 quarterbacks now in the portal, and their players are on the offensive side. They have 6 playing in it so far. There's a meltdown going on out there with the Skittle shitters, right? There's rumors that Lincoln Riley may leave and go to UCF. He may be playing down there amongst Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and Goofy, because he's a goofy son of a bitch. He fit right in down there with all them Mickey Mouse ass characters at UCF. It'd be a nice little soft landing spot for Lincoln Riley. He might be able to get away with some of the stuff he does. He can get away with going 8-4 down there every year. That might be a good thing for him to do. Might be a good idea, Linky boy. You might want to go ahead and pack your bags and go to Disney World. Jack Acker's in the house. Jack Acker says, hey, JPC and everyone. Glad to see Jack Acker back. His Oregon Ducks are the number 1 team right now. They're the only undefeated team left. And hopefully they will take care of Penn State this week. I really don't like Penn State. I still have a bad taste from the whole Sandusky situation. It's going to be hard to forget. But if Oregon does lose to Penn State, I wonder how far they would drop Oregon. They would definitely drop them to 5 or 6. They would have to. Oregon would not be a conference champion at that point. So Oregon would be the 5 seed or the 6 seed. Where do you think they would drop Oregon if they lost to Penn State, in y'all's opinion? Not trying to get off topic here, but, that's a good – him being an Oregon fan just made me think about it. What do y'all think? If Oregon loses to Penn State, how far do they drop Oregon? I see Alabama versus Oregon in the first round at that point. That'd be unique. Alabama's never played Oregon. They would send Alabama out to Autzen Stadium. That'd be a hell of a road trip. I don't think we could recover from. That's one team I probably don't want to see in the first round is Oregon. Notre Dame, okay. But, Notre Dame we may not get Notre Dame. Everybody's got locked up as we're going to get Notre Dame. And we may get Penn State or even a rematch with Tennessee in the first round. Maybe Texas. They could drop Texas down that spot or Georgia. We could get a rematch with Georgia and have to go on the road and play Georgia between the hedges. Fred Bagley says they would drop Oregon to 5 or maybe 6. Oklahoma Man 94 says he won't be at USC half the season next year. Probably right about that. He better go ahead and take that job at UCF. That's what he better do. USC technically don't have to pay that $88 million buyout, by the way, because he got slapped with some probation. It was minor probation, but still, the loophole is there. USC could get rid of Lincoln Riley without having to pay that buyout. Jack Ackers in the house once again. If it's close, probably a 5 seed. If it's a blowout, however unlikely that seems right now, could be a 7 or 8 seed. Yeah, I don't see it happening. I don't see them blowing them out. Penn State is not as bad as people think they are. People have always been hard on Penn State because they have never been able to get over the Ohio stink and Michigan hump to get into the playoffs when we had 4 teams. Now they're finally getting into the playoffs, but only because it's an expanded format, in my opinion. Oregon beats Penn State. Penn State will probably drop down to, 6 or 7? So that's why I was saying you could see Alabama playing Penn State in the first round instead of Notre Dame. But just to reiterate, SMU does not deserve to be in over Alabama, even if they lose to Clemson, man, because if you're going to drop Miami down like that, you got to drop him. And this narrative is from Reese Davis, and he's an Alabama guy, and Greg McElroy. They try too hard to pretend like they're unbiased over the top to the point where they don't take up for Alabama when they're supposed to. I grill my team and I criticize my team all the time. You can ask anybody that's been on this channel for a while. When Alabama deserves to be criticized, I criticize the hell out of them. But when they deserve to be taken up for, I'm going to take up for them too. So, just saying. SMU, if they lose to Miami, if they lose to Clemson, well then, if you're going to drop Miami, you got to drop them down there. But the narrative is from Reese and them, almost lost my train of thought there. The narrative is that the guy that they interview every week, the leader of the committee, is always saying, "Oh, we're not going to punish you for getting into the conference championship game." Well, he's just saying they're not going to punish you for losing that game if your resume matches up against whoever you're competing against. In this case, would be Alabama. But he's not saying that just because you make the title game that you're automatically going to be in either. So that's the misconception they got going on here. Because if that's the case, then I guess you should let Clemson in too. You should let Boise State and UNLV in, and you should let Army and Tulane in. You should just let everybody that gets in the conference title game, the 2 teams, both of them get in. If that's what you're trying to say that he's saying. They're trying to act like it's a precedent will be set. It wouldn't be no precedent set. They've done it before. Reese and them were saying, "Oh, it would be unprecedented if they dropped out a participant in the championship." They've done it a lot. They've dropped Alabama out. They've dropped Georgia out. Georgia lost to Alabama last year, and they dropped Georgia out of the playoff. So don't tell me that it can't be done. There is a precedence there. It's happened before. SMU is currently favored. Yes, they are favored to beat Clemson. Killer Breeze is in the house. A little Friday morning posse. That's right. A little Friday morning posse. You want to come on here with me, or are you at work? If Clemson defeats SMU, SMU will not be in the playoffs, says John Christophic. And I agree. Oh, but they got only 2 losses. Alabama's got 3. Yeah, that's what they come in here chiming in. People that are so shallow. If SMU only had 1 loss and Alabama had 3, I could go along with your argument. Like I said before, if it's just a 1-game difference, they will go by strength of schedule and other factors other than just a win-loss record at that point. They just will. They done it last year with the same team, Alabama, over an undefeated team in Florida State. Good thing they did that, because you see what Florida State did against Georgia. The worst bowl loss in the history of bowls. That's no exaggeration. That's an actual fact. Because Alabama used to have the record. We beat Syracuse like 60-6. And Georgia beat them 63-3. So 54 points was the record. Yeah, it's not. Thanks a lot, Florida State. You let Georgia take our record away. McElroy especially. Yeah. Like I said, I understand, Freedom. Half off. I understand that you want to try to present yourself as unbiased, because I do that too. But you can't just not take up your team ever. Like, if Alabama's in the right, why wouldn't you say they're in the right? Just because you don't want to look biased? You're being disingenuous and untruthful at that point. You're being shady. And that's what Greg McElroy does when he does that. He's being shady, man. And as Killer Breeze said, if y'all don't mind, jump out of the chat, smash that like button. It really helps the algorithm. Pushes the channel out to more people, and it gets more people involved, gets this party crunk up for us. Almost at 5,000 subscribers. If y'all could just get me some more subscribers, man, that'd be awesome. The thing about running a contest, y'all give me some thoughts on this. Whoever can get the most subscribers in here, someone to come in and say, hey, I subscribe to the channel because Killer Breeze told me to. Killer Breeze gets the most subscribers in here. My son come up with this idea, Landon. Then what we could do is I could have a giveaway like that Bull Durham hat I got up on the wall. That's from the actual movie set of the movie Bull Durham. That's not a Denver Broncos hat. That's a Bull Durham hat up there. I could give that to whoever gets the most subscribers. I'm going to go real quick. I'm going to go grab me a bottle of water, and I'll be right back. Y'all don't leave me. I'll be right back in about 5 seconds. All right. Sorry about that, brothers and sisters. We got any sisters up in here today. All right. My bad. Just had to go grab me a bottle of water real quick. Where were we at? Oh, contest. Yeah, if you get the most subscribers, I could give you one of those hats on the wall. Take your choice. Or my son come up with this idea. I can go get one of these hats from Urban's. They're not bent like this when you buy them. They're bendable hats from Urban's. They're the Tim McGraw variety. I usually bend mine to look sort of like Tim McGraw's. I bent this myself. What I could do is I could, whoever gets the most subscribers, I could send you a Outlaw of College Football cowboy hat, personally bent by me. I could even sign it if you wanted me to. Now, if you don't want me to sign it or You're marking it up with anything, I won't sign it. I'll just send you the hat. That's up to you. What do y'all think about that? Fred Bagley says, hey, Killer, how's it go, bro? Just wiring up a new plug to the trailer. Hope I don't burn anything down. I hope you don't burn anything down either, brother. We need you for the rest of the football season. Oklahoma Man 94 says, who do you think will get the natty? Well, I mean, the captain obvious answer is probably Oregon, right? But they'd have to go 17-0 to do it, right? Well, no. Oregon could lose to Penn State and go 16-1 and win it. You realize that somebody's going to set a record this year, right? I don't think any team in college football outside of the early years where they were playing 4 games a week, it was hybrid rugby, and it's playing 18 games a year. I don't think anybody since the modern era of college football, which to me, the modern era of football began in 1907 with the advent of the forward pass. Killer Breeze gets mad at me when I talk about that all the time. But that's my opinion. The modern football began in 1907 when you was allowed to have the forward pass. Before that, it was hybrid rugby. But everything after 1907, I don't think anyone's ever won 16 games in a season or 17 games. Now, back in the day, I think BYU may have won 16 games in a season, like in the 1920s or 30s. But as far as college football in general, the history, I don't think anybody's ever won 17 games. So that would be a first if someone were to win 16 or 17 games. Jack Ecker said not to get off topic, but since you mentioned Tim McGraw, him versus George Strait versus Dolly Parton, who do you pick? We talking about Dolly Parton from Rhinestone or Dolly Parton from Straight Talk? Because Dolly Parton from Rhinestone, she's pretty thick. She's pretty thick, man. Did y'all ever hear Sylvester Stallone singing Rhinestone? He made that damn dog start yelping. He hurt that poor old dog out there singing, man. You better make some good memories, Jack. If it's Dolly Parton Rhinestone, I'm taking Dolly Parton. But if it's Dolly Parton Straight Talk, I'm taking Tim McGraw. You talking about, I don't know, man. You talking about just singing, right? Singing, just singing. Just singing. I'm a big Tim McGraw fan, man, so I'd have to go with Tim McGraw. I know a lot of people will be mad because a lot of people here claim George Strait's the GOAT, but I'm taking Tim McGraw. Modern football started when OU won their first national title. Yeah, that's what a lot of Oklahoma fans and a lot of other fan bases will have you believe. They all have their own little convenient timelines. You know, Oklahoma fans like to say football didn't start to 1946 or 1947 because everybody had the world wars going on. The United States only participated in World War I for 1 year, maybe 2. World War II, 3 or 4 years. So that's a total of 5 or 6 years where people didn't have their allotment of young men to play football. What happened to those 25 plus years in between wars? That shit counts. It counts, man. So people that try to say, oh, well, that don't really count. That wasn't modern. Yeah, it was. It was modern to me. Just my opinion, though. Charlie Ollinger. Hopefully I didn't butcher your last name. Is it Ollinger or Olinger? Is it Ollinger or Olinger? Charlie Olinger, whatever, says, hey, Outlaw, love your videos. I just got on here, so I hope this hasn't been asked yet, but what is your take on the status of OU football recruiting and the overall condition of our program? Well, I think they're making some changes and that's a good thing. I mean, when it looks like it's broke a little bit, it's probably a good idea to try to fix it, right? Whether it was completely Seth Luttrell's fault or not, or just the fact that mere fact that y'all had so many injuries, and then they didn't recover from the injuries, which makes me think that y'all might have the same situation Alabama had going on for a few years. We had all these injuries and nobody was recovering. The guy that was running our program, Scott Cochran, while he was an animated and funny character, he was, some of the strength and conditioning tactics that he was using wasn't conducive in recovering from injury. And I think Oklahoma may have some of that issue with their strength and conditioning program. Oklahoma needs to probably not just get rid of their offensive coordinator, but they probably need to get rid of whoever's over the strength and conditioning program. I think that may be an issue, more of an issue than people realize. And I think Oklahoma should get a different strength and conditioning program. Now let's talk about Georgia and Texas sitting their players. I'm not going to spend too long on this, but I really think if I was Georgia and Texas, I'd sit my players in this championship game because it don't really mean shit, man. It don't really mean anything. Matter of fact, if you lose the game, you get rewarded. You get a game on campus. That's a boon for your local economy. I would much rather play a home campus game than to have the week off or an extra week, have 2 weeks off. Actually, you can get rusty from that, can't you? That's a little too much off time is all I'm saying. Conference championship games, they probably need to be done away with, to be quite honest with you. I know they're not going to want to do that because they get a lot of money, but screw their money. It's not good for the sport. So if I'm Georgia and Texas, I would sit my best players so they don't get injured and let your scrubs beat up on each other. I would let my third and fourth string players play in that game. And if my third and fourth string players were better than your third and fourth string players, then I'm the SEC champ. But what if Ewers gets injured? Or what if Carson Beck gets injured? Or somebody else on Georgia's offense or defense, or someone else on Georgia's team that's very valuable to their team gets injured. Same thing with Texas. What if Texas gets a few players injured? What if, I know they got Arch Manning in the wings, but what if both of them got injured? Because they bring in Arch Manning sometimes on little run plays. What if both of those were to get injured? And these teams are going to probably end up playing each other again. So, like I said earlier, if Georgia, for example, were to beat Texas back-to-back and then play them a third time and Texas beat them, Georgia would have beaten them 2 out of 3 games, have the SEC title, but not have the biggest prize of all that counts the most. Texas would be 1-2 against Georgia in the same season and have the national title. That don't seem right to me, man. So if I'm them and Texas, if I'm Texas and Georgia, I would sit my players, man. I would get together and say, hey, look, man, we're just going to put the third and fourth string in. And Georgia would be like, you know what? We're going to do that too, Texas. Johnny John says, I can't wait. I'm more interested in all the P4 championship games now. I'm excited to see 12 schools battle this out on the field, says Johnny Johns. John Christophic says, getting the first round bye is important. That ain't to me. I would much rather have a home game. That's why they're going to have to go to 16. This 12-team thing, John, is not going to last long. I guarantee you within 2 or 3 years, we're going to be at 16 teams. Maybe sooner. They may sit down this year and say, hey, look. Because this year, man, would have been a great time to have 16 teams. There wouldn't be as much complaining. You'd get Miami, SMU, get in, Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss, all of them would get in. You might even get another G5 participant to pacify those out there that like to see the little guys be able to compete. At that point, you would probably be able to include a sixth conference champion like an Army or Tulane as the 16 seed. They need to go to 16 teams so that everybody gets one of those very valuable on-campus games. As a matter of fact, I think the first 2 rounds should be on campus. Instead of just the first round, the first 2 rounds need to be on campus. That way, the top 4 seeds, if you're going to stay at 12, let the top 4 seeds have a campus game. That should be a reward for being in the top 4. Oregon should get to play a game in Autzen Stadium if they beat Penn State. Just saying. Turd Ferguson's in the house. Turd says, OU has internal issues with the mindset. Not sure our wide receiver coach is on our level. Killer Breeze agrees with that. Johnny John says, definitely want to lose your starter and have a shitty backup. Exactly. I'm starting my 3rd string, man. I'm pulling a NFL playoff team late season move where they bench all their players so you don't get them injured. Jack Ecker says, man, if OU wants to stick it to the Shorthorns, they should poach Manning, especially if Ewers does another year. I don't know if Ewers is coming back or not. He hasn't had really the greatest year that I thought he would. Someone could come in here and offer Manning a lot of money, but here's the thing with Manning. He's already got a lot of money. His whole family's rich. I mean, there's like wealth going back 3 generations. So to get Manning off of Texas for money probably ain't going to happen. It probably have to be through the fact that maybe he's not happy there. I don't know how he could be happy to begin with. I don't know how anybody can be happy in Austin. It's just I ain't going to get into that. I ain't going to get into that, what Austin is. I'll let one of y'all talk about or say what Austin, Texas is. And yes, it's a political thing. All right. Freedom, half off says, have you ever watched You Can't Take It With You, a late 1930s movie? One of the characters is a Bama player who went there and never left. No, I've never seen that before. Never seen that. Who was the player? Johnny John says, I'd love to see South Carolina and Ole Miss involved. They'd make some noise in the playoffs. 16 teams would definitely be awesome. Yeah, I think it would too. If you're going to do 12, you might as well do 16. I was all for 8. And then when I went to 12, I'm like, why? If you're going to go 12, you might as well go ahead and make it an even number of games in 16. Everybody gets that home game. The top 8 seeds get rewarded. So for people to say that it's going to affect the regular season, it's going to hurt the regular season, it hasn't. It's actually made the regular season. It's like the regular season and the playoff are like one big playoff. The entire season, to me, has been a playoff of sorts. I think they should have gone to 8 teams, not 12, just my opinion. Yeah, I was of the same opinion. But if you're going to go to 12, you might as well go to 16. Now, I'm not all about going up any higher than that. I know FCS and Division III and all them other jokers out there in the lower divisions of college football, they do 32. But I think it's 32. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, correct me. But I think in the FCS for sure, I think it's 32, right? Who do you think will be both OU and Bama's quarterbacks next year? Well, I think Jalen Milroe is going to go to the NFL. I know Jackson Arnold's not coming back either at Oklahoma. I mean, Hawkins comes to mind first because he's there already. He knows the system. But if you bring that guy from Washington State, what's his last name? I know his first name is John. Is it John Mateer, something like that. The guy from Washington State was pretty good this year if they were to bring him in here with the Brian, I keep calling him Brian, with Ben Arbuckle, you could see him be the starter over Hawkins, because Hawkins didn't really impress me. So I don't know. What do y'all think? Alabama will probably go with Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson's been in the system for a while. He's earned a shot to start, in my opinion. I think it'll be Ty Simpson. You also have the Austin Mack guy who he brought from Washington, Kalen DeBoer. Dylan Lonergan's another one for Alabama. And then we got the Keelan Russell, who's considered to be one of the biggest five-star gets at quarterback for Alabama since maybe Tua Tagovailoa or Bryce Young is coming in as well. They're saying Keelan Russell is good enough to already start for Alabama. But I don't think he'll be him. I think it'll be Ty Simpson. And then the other two guys, Austin Mack and Dylan Lonergan, will probably end up transferring. And Keelan Russell will probably end up starting in a couple of years. Johnny Johns says, expect the unexpected from Tebow, but UCF doesn't seem real. But I didn't think he'd leave OU for USC, so who knows? It's a wild rumor. Yeah, that was a lateral move when he left Oklahoma and went to USC. Very surprising move. UCF now, they do have a pretty big enrollment, pretty big, giant alumni base. So they probably got the money more so than people realize. And they got Disney backing them. So it would not surprise me if he went there, because it'd be a safe landing spot for him. He could probably go 8-4 there every year, like I said earlier, and get away with it. So it would not surprise me if he went to UCF. Snell's World says, do you think Milroe will crap the bed in the playoffs? You never know what you're going to get with Milroe. Look great against Georgia, look great against LSU, come back against teams that weren't as good and ended up losing. It might be because he got nicked up. I mean, I heard he got nicked up a little bit against LSU, and he just wasn't himself against Oklahoma, obviously. So the way it's set up, though, I mean, you get like a week off every playoff game. You play a playoff game, then you get a week off. You play a playoff game, then you get a week off, I think, the way it's set up, man. And then for the national championship game, I think you get close to 2 weeks off, maybe 9 or 10 days or something like that. So with that much time in between games to heal up, it would not surprise me if Alabama got on a roll. And that's what people are afraid of. And once again, I'm not saying that because they're my team. I'm saying that because I really think that. It would not surprise me if Alabama suddenly got on a roll, especially with the time off that they get between games. Just my opinion. Once again, if y'all don't mind, jump out of this chat, smash the like button. It helps me push this thing through the YouTube algorithm, gets more people up in here. Also, you can join the Outlaw Posse like some of these guys in here have, like Fred Bagley, Killer Breeze, Johnny John's not in. Why ain't you in a posse, Johnny Johns? You in a damn band next Halo, man. You making all that money. You can't give me a half a bottle of water for the Outlaw, man? $2.99 a month. 75 cents a week. Little join button next to the subscribe button. You get your badge, you get deputized. You'll be an Outlaw Posse. You get a random 4 horseman shout out on the actual podcast, as well as possibly the comment of the day. So look into that if you want a little something extra. Lonesome Darkness says, I'm glad there's a playoff. As an Alabama fan, there was no playoff. Our season will be over. Now we have a chance. Yeah, it's created a lot of interest late because, this time last year, we basically knew just about who was going to be in the top 4. It was pretty much given that there was only 7 or 8 teams that had a chance after October. It's made November actually a month to remember for real. It's not just wording. It's actually happening this year. November has been a season to remember. It has been a month to remember, So it's made teams that normally would be out of the mix. It's kept their fans interested in the college football season longer. So I think it's been a smashing success this year. We've just had so many losses. I mean, we may not have maybe 2 or 3 one-loss teams, maybe no undefeated teams after this week if Penn State wins. So the parity's here. The parity that everybody wanted is here. That'd be quite a demotion. Imagine Tebow going to a G5. Like I said, UCF is not a G5 anymore, by the way. They're in the Big 12. So I don't know if you're referring to UCF or not. John Mateer for OU and Simpson for Bama, says Johnny Johns, as far as the start quarterbacks next year. What do y'all think about Georgia and Texas sitting those players? You think they should sit them? Because they're going to end up playing each other a third time, probably. I'm just saying, man. I think the conference championship games need to be done away with. Man. They're stupid at this point. They're just a hindrance, and it can be a detriment. Because, like, if you didn't have an ACC championship game right now, guess what? SMU be in. SMU's only lost 1 game. It's not fair to SMU, really, that they have to play a team that has 2 more losses than them and a chance to ruin their season. Now, if Clemson only had 2 losses or 1 loss, then I could see it being fair. But, man, this is jacked up because if Clemson wins and they put them in, they keep Alabama in, and then if Georgia loses to Texas, you're going to have 3 teams in there with 3 losses. 3 teams with 3 losses will be in the playoffs. That's just stupid. That's why they need to do away with it, man. They need to do away with conference championship games. They can make the money up by having an extra playoff game. You won't lose that money, jackasses, of conference commissioners and greedy bastards out there. You won't lose the money. Just go to 16 teams. Replace the conference championship game with a 16-team playoff, man. It's not hard. If us common Joes and Sallies in the know out here know this, why don't y'all know it? I don't know how to buy stuff on YouTube, or else I would. My card isn't linked to my YouTube. It's not hard. They're not going to jack you up, man. I promise. I won't let them. It's all good, brother. I'm just messing with you. The movie is a comedy. I haven't seen it. The player is one of the wacky characters who went for a bowl game and ended up staying in the house full of quirky people. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I'll have to go check it out, brother. What'd you say the name of it was again? You always play to win, huh? Well, let me ask you this, John. I like you, man. You're a pretty cool guy, especially for a Pittsburgh guy. By the way, Pittsburgh, I think, I can't remember the bowl they were slated to be in through Athens. But anyway, the NFL teams at the end of the year, if they got a playoff spot sewed up, they pull their starters. They don't have them play. I don't even think they play a quarter. They might play 1 quarter, and then they bench them. Just saying. It's been going on for a while. I mean, now you have the playoff where if you get a player injured, John, are you playing to win at that point? Really, you're sort of playing with fire. Instead of playing to win, you play on fire because your guy gets injured. Well, then you're not going to be playing to win because you're not going to win because you're not going to have your starting quarterback, and you're going to lose in the playoffs, which are more important than any conference championship games, in my opinion. I'd much rather, and Alabama's done it before, I'd much rather be national champion than be the SEC champion. Alabama went 1 year and hadn't won the SEC title and then won the national title. That's another thing. People running in here saying Alabama don't deserve to be here. They're not, blah, 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 blah. Well, y'all going to have to eat your words. And you're like, well, you can't make me eat my words. That's my opinion. No, you're going to have to eat your words if Alabama wins 1 playoff game. If they put Alabama in and they win one playoff game, that automatically proves what you said wrong about them not deserving to be there. Because if they don't deserve to be there, then they shouldn't be able to win one game. So if we go up to Notre Dame, for example, and win that game like Northern Illinois did, then, yeah, at that point, we deserve to be in. Because if you don't deserve to be in, then you shouldn't be able to win a game. Just like that you won the national title, we all deserve to be there. How can you say that when we won 2 games? If we didn't deserve to be there, then why didn't y'all beat us? That's the thing. It's like us getting in the playoff. They dropped us out of the top 12. They weren't unbiased. They dropped us out. And then the teams ahead of us lost when they should have won. If y'all don't want Alabama in the playoffs, then stop losing games. And if you don't want us winning national championships, then beat us. Don't tell us we didn't deserve it when we absolutely deserve it when we beat you on the field. See how stupid that sounds? I'm just saying, man. It don't sound right, man. Y'all won't admit it, but y'all just get that Bama emasculation thing going on, man. That's all I can tell you. I don't understand. If you have 2 teams that are tied in the conference, who's the conference champion? Well, you can use tiebreakers, John. They've done it. They've done it in the past. They've done it for many years. Use tiebreakers. If someone's tied, if they played head-to-head, they are the champion, for example. Like that year TCU and Baylor were tied, and they refused to name a champion, name them co-champions, and screwed themselves out of the playoff. TCU, I think, or Baylor had beat TCU head-to-head, and they had both lost one conference game. But Baylor beat TCU head-to-head. So Baylor should have been declared the conference champion that year. See what I'm saying? And then if they don't play each other in conference or for some reason that you can't use that as a tiebreaker, there's other ways to have a tiebreaker. Instead of going into an SEC championship game that's not necessary and get injured. That's just my opinion, though. Your opinion's different, obviously. And you're privy to that opinion. It's your right to have that opinion, John. You're a pretty good sports fan. I like you, brother. Snell's World said, being a Bama fan was my first choice in life 47 years ago. I'm just ready for Milroe to go. For a more consistent quarterback, they need to make being in a conference mandatory for teams like Notre Dame. I agree. Notre Dame, as you know, miraculously got the AAU accreditation, which is a crock of horse veneer. AAU is a big old farce, by the way. That's just their way of saying, well, we know you not be as good as y'all in football and basketball sometimes and the big money-making sports, but academically we're much better than y'all. We're smarter than y'all. Y'all are a bunch of idiots. When in reality, they're not. Just because they have a higher grade point average requirement, it's say Notre Dame or North Carolina or somewhere like that, doesn't mean that their athletes are smarter than our athletes. All it means is that the people that are fixing their grades have to do a better job of fixing their grades. Because North Carolina, who has a higher grade point average than some of us, I have this North Carolina guy gets here talking that stupid crap all the time about, well, we're so much better academically, so that's what really matters. If you require your player to have a 3.75 average to get into North Carolina, and Alabama's players is 3.1, and they both get in, it doesn't mean that he's smarter if you got some guy that supposedly is tutor taking his test for him and fixing his grades. He's really not making it 3.7. See what I'm saying? But I got off topic there. My bad. Do you think Tennessee will get into the playoffs next season if they finish 9-3, or will they not be anywhere near if it happens? It's according to when you lose, how you lose, and who's in front of you, Big Orange. I know you're sort of throwing that at Alabama, maybe saying that we're getting a little biased treatment here maybe. I don't know if that's what you're doing or not, but Alabama would be out right now if Miami had taken care of business, if Clemson had taken care of business. If the ACC hadn't crapped the bed, the last week of the season and looked horrid all year defensively as far as Miami goes, then they would be in the playoff right now. All they had to do is beat Syracuse and not look horrific defensively against numerous teams this year. California, they beat 39-38. California was up on them by 23 at one point. Duke was up on them double digits. They ended up coming back and beating Duke by double digits, but Duke put 31 on them. They got a Hail Mary pass that Virginia Tech caught in the end zone, overturned with unsubstantiated evidence. People see that stuff, man. It ain't just me saying that. That's people seeing it. Eye test. Just saying. Miami would have still got in, though. Even with all that crap, even knowing that Miami was a farce, they would have still got in had they not lost to Syracuse. Of course, they would have had to beat SMU at that point, too. But they would have probably both got in at that point. But because Miami lost, they sort of screwed the entire ACC, to be quite honest with you. Kirby Smart doesn't want to play Bama again, says Jack Acker. I don't think he really likes playing us too much. You're right. I think Alabama's 9-1, last 10. Maybe 10-1 now. I think it's 10-1, last 11. Yeah, see, I know that's what you was doing, man. I called you on it before you even wrote this little comment out. Only if we were 8-2 by week 10 and get blown out by 24-3, right? Well, if you watched the Alabama-Oklahoma game, not making excuses here, but there was a touchdown that was called back that even the Oklahoma fans will tell you was a pretty horrible call that will probably change the momentum of that game. But you also had the fact that Alabama did beat Georgia, who beat Tennessee, by the way. Yeah, Tennessee beat Alabama, but we beat the team that beat you. So, I mean, what are you supposed to do, man? Beat LSU, right? LSU beat Ole Miss and South Carolina. So, can't put Ole Miss. You see what I'm saying? There's just so many variables there, man. Anybody can have a bad game one week. You know what I'm saying? Anybody. Who's y'all's losses to? Didn't y'all lose to Arkansas? Didn't y'all lose to Arkansas? I'm just saying. Y'all lost to a 6-6 team too. By the way, Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, people try to say it's bad losses, but it's really not. Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee. Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. What do they all have in common? They're bowl eligible. We didn't get beat by no horrible team, like Ole Miss did. Ole Miss got beat by a 4-8 Kentucky team. So y'all almost lost to Kentucky, man. But yeah, it's just like Jimmy John says here, Big Orange. If you don't like Alabama being in the playoffs, then you need to blame all the teams that lost in front of them. Don't lose, and you won't get dropped. That's the way it's supposed to work. The only time it didn't work that way was the year that they kept TCU right where they were at and screwed Alabama out of the playoffs. So don't say it's a biased favoring Alabama when they've screwed Alabama a couple of times in the past. And they dropped us out of the top 12 last 2 weeks ago. Dropped us out of the top 12, man. Did y'all a favor. I just think maybe y'all don't want to play us again. Tennessee wants to be able to keep that win over us until next year. And we have to play Tennessee in a rematch, especially if we played them in a neutral site somewhere. We'd probably beat Tennessee. I just said that, Big Orange. Are you not listening? 6-6. Y'all lost to a 6-6 team too. Y'all lost to Arkansas. Just saying. Y'all lost to Arkansas. Y'all lost the team that we beat. We beat Georgia. Did y'all beat Georgia? No. Did we beat LSU when they were pretty highly ranked? Yes. Just saying. It's just like the NFL now. In the NFL, you're gonna have those games one week where your team's drained, your team's nicked up, and you're not going to play good, and you're going to get beat, sometimes badly. That's the way it is now. With 12-team playoff, it's just like the NFL. The NFL's a 12-team playoff, right? I think they went to 14. But I'm just saying, man, you got to put aside your hatred for Alabama or your emasculation and just see this as an eye test. And if you're truthful to yourself, and I hope you are, you got to say Alabama's a better team than Miami, man. If you don't say they are, then to me, I don't think you're being disingenuous. You're letting your hate get in the way, and you're not really looking at it in an unbiased manner. Why do you keep asking the same stupid questions, man? I just said we lost to Vanderbilt. Y'all, they give y'all a pretty good game for a while. They were on y'all 14-0. They only lost to Texas by 3. They beat Virginia Tech. It's not your daddy's Vanderbilt anymore, man. Y'all can't use that. You can't use that anymore, Big Orange. Wrong answer. Once again, Big Orange is the biggest loser. Just play it, man. Don't get mad and unsubscribe to the channel now. And they've got a lot of little softies in here in wet diapers that tap out all the time. As No Cojones Kelly says, we should change it back to Big Cojones Kelly. Miami should have lost 2 more games. Yeah, and if they had been in the SEC. If Miami would have been in the SEC, how many games do you think they would have lost, No Cojones, in your opinion? I think they would have lost about 4 games. I understand, but at the same time, Bama fan had the richest of the richest. They should be proud more than anyone. They finished 0-12. What are you talking about, man? Who in the hell would be proud to finish 0-12 at any time in their history? That's why we have a proud history, because we don't do that. It's since Ears Whitworth, the guy before Bear Bryant, we were going 0-11 and shit. We had a season where we went winless. We were 0-10-1. I think we had 1 tie. But no, man, we're not satisfied. We're a blue blood, just like Oklahoma, just like Ohio stank. In some degree, LSU sort of getting close to that blue blood status. Nebraska back in the day, USC to some degree, Michigan a little bit because they got all them wins. Tennessee's on the cusp of being a blue blood if they could just win a national title outside of Phil Fulmer. But Alabama maybe having a slight off year this year, but overall, Alabama's a blue blood, and we're almost like a gold blood. We're like the gold blood of blue bloods. We have the most national titles as recognized by reputable media outlets in history. Whether y'all want to recognize them or not, they're recognized by many media outlets. As a matter of fact, the NCAA.org, go on there. They actually have credited Alabama with 22 national titles, and we only claim 18. So, if you was a blue blood like Alabama and Oklahoma, you would understand why it's not okay to ever lose. Because that's like Alabama and Oklahoma. You know, they won over 7 or 8 national titles. Once you win past 5 or 6 national titles, you consider to me a blue blood. Tennessee's not quite there yet. When y'all get there, you'll understand where I'm coming from. What are you laughing about, man? Go back and look at the history. AP title, UPI title. It's now called the Coaches Poll, USA Day Poll. All those organizations recognized us as national champions. So if we got to give them back, y'all got to give yours back. That national title y'all got in the 1950s with Robert Nalen, y'all got to give it back, man. Y'all can't keep it. If we can't keep ours, you can't keep yours. Is that a deal? Then y'all won't have but one. Y'all ain't got what, 2? Y'all got 2 or 3. Tennessee. When you get on 2 hands, come back and talk to us. We might let you have dinner at the national championship blue blood table. Right now, you're down the same level as Oklahoma and Alabama and Nebraska and not even USC or Notre Dame, to be honest with you, Ohio State. You're not on the same level yet, man. You might get there one day. Maybe. At least Tennessee baseball wins basketball was. What are you talking about, man? Those sports are really non-revenue, man. Nobody cares really. They're just patronized sports. I'm just being honest with you. We're talking about big time money here, man. And by the way, Alabama has won national championships in other sports besides football. We won national championships in tennis, golf, and gymnastics. We've been 6-time national champions in gymnastics. Since you want to bring up sports that don't have the biggest revenues, gymnastics, we sell the place out though. We got big revenue on gymnastics. Just saying, man. What's your gymnastics team doing? Since we're going to bring up that the off the cuff sports, the ones that don't bring in the big money, Alabama's won national championships in all those sports that I just named. How do you like me now? Big Orange, you guys have a solid team this year. I don't know why you care, man. Are you scared of losing a rematch? Yes, that's exactly why. Like I said, it come to me the other night. The football gods come unto me, and they said unto me, JPC, OCF, it's not Bama hate. It's Bama emasculation. It's Bama fear. These guys don't want to have to play you. Tennessee don't want to play us again. They know they should have lost that first game. They basically tried to gift wrap it for us in the first half, and we didn't take advantage of all those turnovers. But he knows. That's the only reason he's saying that, man, because he's a Tennessee fan. Big Orange, y'all would get in the playoffs if you were 9-3, if your resume was going up against Miami. If you put Tennessee up against Miami's resume, if Tennessee had, let's say Tennessee had lost to Kentucky or somebody like that, or Florida. You almost lost that game, by the way, to Florida. Say Tennessee had lost to Florida. That's a good one. If Tennessee had lost to Florida, y'all did lose to Arkansas, who was 6-6, by the way. Just keep bringing that up so you don't forget. If y'all lost to Florida and y'all went 9-3, or no, if y'all lost to Alabama and went 9-3, since that's one of our losses, y'all, let's flip it and let's say y'all lost to Alabama. Huh. And it was between Tennessee and Miami right now, Big Orange. Who do you think they'd take? Who do you think they'd take? They would take Tennessee, man. They would take Tennessee. Johnny John says you definitely would sniff the playoffs if you were ranked number 14 and the others lost in front of you. Yes, exactly. If Tennessee had lost to Alabama instead of Alabama losing to Tennessee, and it was Tennessee versus Miami or SMU, by the eye test, and I'm an Alabama fan, I dislike Tennessee with all my heart. I hate Phil Fulmer and all that's Big Orange. But if I'm looking at it unbiasedly and eye test, if Tennessee was 9-3 right now and they lost to Alabama, and Tennessee had been ranked 13th like Alabama, and Miami and Clemson lost in front of Tennessee, Tennessee eye tests would be in. I would vote Tennessee in if I had a vote over SMU too. If SMU loses to Clemson, if SMU loses to a 9-3 Clemson team that's had some horrible losses, SMU don't deserve to be in. Sorry, y'all get one bid. That's what you get for being in a crappy conference that's got built-in cupcakes. You should be taking up for Alabama, man. I know you dislike them just like your team, but right now this is about money. The SEC only gets 3 teams in. That's a chunk of change that we're going to lose. 2, by the way. Nobody care about baseball, man. They just don't, man. People that win at baseball care about it because they ain't winning anything else. Just being honest with you, I'm not going to get into all that, but yeah. Baseball is a great sport. It's America's pastime, even though we know it's not. Football is. Football is American football is our pastime. Baseball, college baseball don't make any money hardly, man. So I'm just saying. World Series championship pennant sitting above my TV as I'm talking to you out loud. And it's not a World Series. Did y'all allow? I mean, I could see if it was a Little League World Series, you saying that shit. But college baseball don't have a World Series. It's just a college series. I don't know why they call it the College World Series, because y'all don't allow any foreign teams in there. Y'all don't allow no foreign teams, man. It's not like y'all play Barcelona FCS or Baghdad or Thailand Bangkokers or anything. Y'all play against the rest of the nation. It's not a World Series. I don't even know why professional baseball calls it the World Series. They only have one foreign team in it. You don't see them calling it the World Bowl in the NFL. Baseball people are sort of stupid, to be honest with you. Just saying, they're sort of stupid. They're not World Series. Now, the Little League World Series, they actually play it against teams, the youngins actually play against teams in Japan and Australia and Rwanda and all them teams, man. All they got is the Toronto Blue Jays. It's not no World Series, man. When you get a franchise in London, England, or Paris, France, or Milan, Italy, or Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, then there'll be a World Series. Screw baseball. I don't like baseball. Ever since they went on strike back in the 90s, man, I've been done with baseball. Turd Ferguson come in here and says it right after I say it. Baseball has lost its luster since the 90s strike. Damn, boy, we're right on the same page. I didn't even know you wrote that, man. Man, shut up, man. Yeah, come on now. Me and you agreeing on most of the stuff today, man, but y'all don't turn no big-ass profit in baseball, man. Y'all might turn a little bit of a profit. Little profit, yeah. I understand that. Technically, yeah. But compared to football, how much profit does LSU football make compared to LSU baseball? It's not even close, man. It's not even close, man. It'd be like getting the damn Tom Brady New England Patriots to play Hoover High School or some shit, man. Notre Dame is still historically the number 2 blue blood in college football. That's debatable. They haven't won a national title in 35 years. So I don't know. But total overall picture, historically, you're probably right. You're probably right. If you're going to go by the big picture from 1907, when the forward pass was introduced and modern football came about in 1907, Notre Dame has been probably in the top 2 or 3. You're right. I agree. Especially with championships included. The problem I have with Michigan and Ohio State is they really haven't won enough national championships. I think Notre Dame's won 8 or 9, maybe 10. So, yeah, probably Alabama, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, then maybe Nebraska, USC. Those would be the top 5 in my opinion. And LSU's getting close to that, by the way. LSU's won 3 national titles this century, which is second only to Alabama. And so people that say the SEC's top heavy, they're super tards. And they won one back in the 50s. So LSU has 4. LSU wins one more, to me, they're considered a blue blood. Once you get to 5, in my opinion, you're a blue blood. Sort of like Miami. You know, Miami come out of nowhere and won 5 national titles. Miami's sort of on the line being a blue blood sometimes, but I would consider Miami a blue blood at this point. Man, shut up about baseball making so much money, man. They don't. Exactly. Football is king. Yeah, you was making a statement, and it was wrong. I'm just messing with you now, man. I'm just messing with you. I have to be nice to people these days because people tap out on me left and right. But yeah, there's no comparison, and not even close to. It's not even close to basketball, men's basketball. It's not comparable, man. It's just not. Do you win the Super Bowl in college football, or do you win the Super Bowl? Do you win the NCAA tournament basketball? Blah 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 blah. College basketball, blah 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 blah. What are you talking about? I'm just telling you, they shouldn't call it the World Series because it's not a World Series. They got Toronto, Canada. You used to have the Montreal Expos until they let them go to the Washington Nationals. I know my history on baseball, man. I just don't like it anymore because, like Turd said, I lost my taste for it in the 90s when they went on strike. Now, in fact, the year they went on strike, they cost the Montreal Expos probably a World Series championship. You see, they got me calling it the World Series because they call it that. But it's just the United States and one team in Canada. So it's just basically North America. They need to call it the North America Championship because it's not a World Series. This reminds me of arguing with Georgia Tech nerds about grades like you were talking about earlier. Yeah, exactly. Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, North Carolina, a lot of these Big Ten schools, they be trying to play it like, well, the reason why y'all are good is because y'all take dumb players that don't have any academic prowess. We have to adhere to a certain academic standard. No, you don't. You're lying, man. All your players that you got that are supposed to make them academic standards, man, are players that you fix their grades for, man. Quit lying, man. We all do it. Y'all doing it too, man. The only difference is people are like, well, Alabama don't dominate now because everybody's got NIL, and Alabama's not the only one paying players. We weren't the only one paying players before NIL. Everybody's doing it. The only difference was Alabama paid the right players. Oklahoma paid the right players back in the day with Barry Switzer. Alabama paid the right players back in the day with Barry Bryant. Tennessee paid the right players with Robert Neyland. Vanderbilt didn't pay the right players. Auburn hasn't been paying the right players. All these teams that haven't won national championships, y'all paid the wrong players. So don't try to act like we're the only ones that paid players back in the day. Y'all all been doing it. There's a big old wire transfer, Western Union wire transfer to T. Martin for the national championship quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers. That's right there for everybody to see. The NCAA ignored it because Tennessee did a quid pro quo with them to implicate Alabama in some NCAA stuff, tried to get us the death penalty. So that's why I dislike Phil Fulmer in Tennessee. That was some shady shit. Y'all were doing the same shit that Alabama was doing. Y'all just went and tattled on us and did a little deal with the NCAA so they wouldn't take you out. So we all been paying players probably since 1930, man. So stop with that self-righteous horse shit, man. I ain't gonna listen to it. John got me wired up tonight, man. We got a good, strong 40 people up in here today, Killer Breeze. Hey, man, it's pretty strong for early morning. I might have to start doing more of these early morning wake-up calls, huh? I thought he was in a hot seat after a 3-game slide. How do you fans feel about him? What are y'all talking about? By the way, if y'all want to get your comment read out, I can't get to all these comments that are coming in here. There's a little money dollar sign at the bottom of this stream. Little money dollar sign in the middle of a box or circle. Click on that, write your comment out, make a small donation to the show. It'll push it to the top, highlight it, and I'll read it out over all the others. A lot of stupid fans want a BK fire. Reality is that they aren't writing a $60 million buyout. Let me ask you this, no cojones Kelly, because you know how I feel about Brian Kelly. I love LSU. I love LSU people. Don't like Brian Kelly. If Brian Kelly didn't have a $60 million buyout, would you want him fired? If you could get rid of Brian Kelly right now without paying him a dime, would you do it? If I'm an LSU fan, I would do it. The writing's on the wall with him, man. It's just a matter of time before it's just going to start going downhill, in my opinion. He don't fit down here, man. He's a con man. He's a shady. I don't like Brian Kelly, man. Snell's World says been done with professional baseball since the Yankees was the team of the 1990s when the Braves were in the playoffs and the World Series more than them. Yeah, back in the day, I actually liked the Yankees. Back in the 1980s, they had this manager named Billy Martin. And, man, he used to come out there and kick that damn dirt on them umpires. Man, oh, man, I thought that was the coolest thing I ever saw. And George Steinbrenner fired him like 4 or 5 times and rehired him. Y'all remember that? Show my age a little bit. But if y'all are past the age of 45, y'all might remember Billy Martin, the real crazy manager for the New York Yankees in the 1980s. I want to knock on baseball because your arch rivals are national champs. Just have one of the best teams of all time, but you understand you're a little college football team. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? You think I'm jealous that y'all won the baseball national championship? I don't care, man. I'm going to be honest with you. You ask anybody in here, they probably really don't care. They like to see their university do good in every sport. But when it comes down to it, everybody wants to be good in football and men's basketball. If you say that's not the two sports that everybody wants to be good at the most, then you're just being disingenuous. By the way, Alabama has won a national championship in softball too. Just so you know. So that's a version of baseball, right? It's just the women. You wonder why they don't have men's softball? They got women's basketball. Why don't they have men's softball? Damn. That's sexist. Damn. We should throw a fit. It's not all the same. You say it's all the same. It's not. It's not all the same, man. It's not. It's really not. If you're being honest with yourself, Tennessee wants to be good in football and men's basketball. The most. David Orwig says, I think losing an arm before the new coach can help him with better linemen is a disaster. We'll see. Hopefully y'all get that John Mateer guy. Because if y'all don't get Mateer, then I don't know if Hawkins is really the answer. Well, all right. Just want to jump in here real quick and do a surprise early morning live stream. If you don't mind, let me get this one real quick. Got a super sticker. Got a super sticker from Freedom Half Off. Appreciate that, Freedom Half Off. Appreciate the super sticker. Almost forgot to get it. There it is. Freedom half off with a $1.99 super sticker. Appreciate that, brother. But if y'all ain't got any more questions, I guess I'm fixing to get up out of here. Like I said, we talked about Alabama being better than SMU and Miami, regardless of what happens this weekend. And it's supposed to be about the best 12, not who's most deserving. And then we talked about Georgia and Texas should sit their players. And we talked about numerous other things here tonight. So if y'all got any more questions or you got any ideas for topics for future shows, just let me know. All right. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.